Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Summer Wars final for our latest sort of February-March tournament. Special treat today because it is a best of three. We kind of organized the tournaments differently. I'm really happy with how the tournaments went this time. And so our finalists played three simultaneous games. Of course, we'll be watching them in a particular order. Nick and I do not know the outcome at all. Speaking of Nick, we've got a new color commentator here. It is Plaid Hat Games game developer extraordinaire Nick Conley. Welcome, Nick.
Thanks for having me, Joe. So what's the tournament structure like for this event? What are we looking at today?
We've got two finalists, Water D and Orange Lazarus. Water D's going to be on the top in all the games. And these two had made it down to a final pool of 9 and were the top 2 players in that pool. They've actually already had one game against each other this tournament, which Orange Lazarus won. Fungal Dwarves over Savanna Elves. But,
oh man, so Orange Lazarus back on Fungal Dwarves.
Right, but Water D won the pool overall.
Okay.
So you kind of have a point in each of their favor. So now they're playing the top 3 factions that they chose at the beginning of the tournament against each other. So that and best 2 out of 3 wins. So that's going to be the Obsidian Dwarves, Water D's Obsidian Dwarves versus Orange Lazarus's Fungal Dwarves. And then I don't know which game. I don't know the order, but Water D's Savanna Elves versus Orange Lazarus's Tundra Orcs, and then the opposite of that, just by coincidence, happened to be Water D's Tundra Orcs versus Orange Lazarus's Savanna Elves. So
a bit of similarity in preference in factions between these two top players, and I really like Water D's lineup quite a bit. Obsidian Dwarves are one of my favorites to play. Tundra Orcs are one of my favorites to play. I really like the highly involved combat summoners, and both of those are just a ton of fun.
Yeah, and our defending champion, SIP, or SIP, we should say, who didn't make it far as he usually does in this tournament, he's been spreading the gospel of the Savanna Elves for a while. It seems like it's definitely caught on. He's represented the Savanna Elves often in tournaments, and now both of these two are as well. I mean, they've always been considered a sort of scary faction to face, but, depending on the numbers, that hasn't always added up in a particular tournament or in a particular final, which they've, lost plenty of. But
yeah, Savanna Elves are one of the old standbys for me. As we're playtesting new factions, I like to see them go up against the Savanna Elves first and just kind of see where they lie on the barometer against them. So always exciting to see Savanna Elves be played. But starting off, we got the dwarf battle.
Yeah,
Fungal Dwarves kind of growing in reputation.
Yeah, it's not visible yet to everybody, but yeah, it looks like we're going to be watching Obsidian Dwarves and Fungal Dwarves first. So Fungal Dwarves I noticed sometime during the last tournament of like, oh, wow, this is a real... Now, we'll be seeing every game from Orange Lazarus's perspective because the game's over, so it's okay to see the hand. We noticed... I started to notice during the last tournament, like, wow, a lot of strong players are really playing a lot of Fungal Dwarfs.
Yeah.
And it was after that even that we aligned some of the implementation of the app rules with the actual wording of the cards and correct interpretation, and that seems to even push them one level even stronger. We had 7 out of 9 finalists were playing Fungal Dwarves in the final pool.
That's some heavy representation for a single faction. So yeah, the players are really cracking the code on them. They were a difficult one to start off with. You're managing this entire boost economy with them to generate value over time, and if your formation starts to fall apart, it can be really tough to recover. So you're really riding the edge, trying to maintain that momentum with them.
Yeah, and they, I think it's kind of cool actually that we can have a faction who starts off and in the numbers, even in the tournaments, they don't look as strong, and then over time they sort of even after thousands of games played, people figure them out more and more. So that's pretty cool. I mean, it makes me think about the Shadow Elves because their numbers are similar to the early Fungal Dwarves numbers when they launched, and they're kind of a similarly complex faction. And so I'm curious to see if they evolve over time. Because I
dark
just
decks, man. These dark decks are hard to crack the code on. It's the self-sacrificing, occasionally attacking your own stuff is the better play. Some kind of counterintuitive strategies develop out of these dark strategies. So it takes some time to really figure that out, I think. So yeah, excited to see where Shadow Elves go with this too.
Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. I just playing last week a little bit with Shadow Elves. I felt like, I am finally starting to like make good decisions with them. They're ones that you can really regret choices in the middle of the game. But
yeah,
they weren't in this tournament because this tournament started before the launch, I think.
Okay.
Here, I'll check the stats real quick. It was, Wayfarers and Shadow Elves have 0 games played in this tournament. So they have yet to debut competitively in here. But why don't I hit you with some numbers, Nick?
Give me the data, Joe.
All right. So we're starting off with Obsidian Dwarves versus Fungal Dwarves. Overall, the Obsidian Dwarves win this matchup in general play. In this tournament, Fungal Dwarves have it 4-3. It's been played 7 times in the tournament. Okay. And in this tournament, Obsidian Dwarves are at 46%, Fungal Dwarves at 61%. So this truly has been a big showcase for the Fungal Dwarves. We were saying before that we're up for mentioning that as a potential card adjustment. We're starting to test some things in play testing that aren't totally determined yet.
That's right.
Because some of the rulings, as our understanding of the wording has gotten deeper, some of the rulings that we had to make are unintuitive and favor these guys a lot, which when they were weaker, which we should implement it according to the wording, period. And if we need to adjust cards. But it felt like a happier accident earlier on when they seemed weak, but now it's like, oh boy.
Yeah, it's really exploded in value. So we'll course correct that in due time.
So both these players are 5-1 in the tournament with these two factions. A little bit about these two competitors in general. Water D, 20-4 in the tournament, and Orange Lazarus, 19-5. But Orange Lazarus is extra interesting because he is our 2-time defending only tournament winner ever for Gen Con Summoner Wars 2nd Edition tournaments, which are tournaments that you've run, Nick. So what's been your I haven't ever been over there because I've always been at the booth. So what kind of player, seems like you guys have had fun with the tournament?
Yeah, it was a pleasure meeting Orange Lazarus in person twice for these in-person tournaments we've done. And he's just a very strong player, and you can see it happening in the moment. Very clear that he'll think through his entire turn and every contingency plan based on how the dice will go before making that first action. So I think he has really good foresight as a player. And when it's time to act, he'll act. So I saw some very commanding Polar Dwarves play from him in both tournaments back before the Ice Ram adjustment was applied. He was a master of those Ice Ram puzzles, and it could just explode out of nowhere. So he's definitely got his finger on the pulse with this game, and the tournament results to show it.
Yeah, and this is actually the 4th time he was in a finals pool, but he's never been in the finals before in Summoner Wars Online for 2nd edition. Water
Cool.
D, if you've been around Summoner Wars forever, like Nick and I have on the old Summoner Wars forum as fans, then you know who Water D is. He was like a very, and I don't mind saying it, like he was very polarizing even back in the day, because he just gives his opinions in a certain way that rubs some people the wrong way, and I know that he knows that, so I don't care about it.
Yeah, he was
saying it.
historically a very active playtester for
Yeah.
us, and has been
He's
an
contributed
integral
a
member of
ton to the
playtest team.
game.
Yeah.
He's contributed a ton to the game, and I'm really happy for him to see him competing for a top tournament spot here.
Yeah, very prolific writer too. Writes up a lot of the strategy guides on Summoner Warzone, I believe, and is very active in the forums. So definitely
loves
a
to
voice
think
of the
and talk
community.
about loves to think and talk about games big time. And I think he's a very philosophical player, I think you would say. And
I've lost many games to him.
and I think I don't actually know this for a fact, but I think he's on some level spends a lot of time playing poker too, maybe professionally even. So he really, so he does a lot of comparative analysis of games and thinking about that kind of stuff too. All right, I think we're ready to get started on game one.
It's 1 o'clock. How about we dive right in?
Oh yeah, that's true. 1 o'clock. So we've been talking for a little bit. Let's see, anything else to mention? I'll say this again at the end, but I'm not going to open up the next tournament signups this week. I'm working really hard on the next huge update that has avatars and ranked play and badges and all kinds of stuff like that. And I just want to keep focusing on that. I think everybody will be better served by me getting that out, a few days sooner or a little sooner by removing one distraction until it gets up there. So, all right.
We're moving.
We've started. Colby said enough's enough. He's in the control room.
All right. Fungal Dwarves get the opening here with an early gate is always nice to see. And starting off by attacking their own spore carrier. Hoping for an infect there, but missed it with the fungal beast. That's a bit of bad news. And opening hand notably lacking any other beasts and carriers to get the engine started.
Yeah, that is the hard thing, if you have to wait for extra beasts and stuff like that. Or if you draw, he hasn't drawn the other thing, the epic, so. All right.
Ooh, tough roll for Balzar there. Getting 0 hits and 2 special icons means no progress for the rage or defeating any characters. So
that's
really rough start there, Balzar.
So he ends up having to take a damage to bring in a guard.
All right, rocky start both ways then, but callback's moving up and gets a big hit. And we see the gate clogging technique of Fungal Dwarves coming into full form here, being able to defeat enemies and spawn a spore carrier in its spot.
Both these factions are very aggressive against gates, so I'm sure both players feel good about having a gate in their opening hand.
Yeah. Interesting to note the positioning of the gates is the same. Both players opting for that A3 spot for their gate, keeping it out of the way of enemy attacks and clogging potential, but enough room to summon things and get into the fray.
Right, both as forward as they could be, but that's it. Not otherwise is keeping them safe from instant destruction.
Yeah, I think it's a bit counterintuitive to put your gate on the side like there, thinking, oh, I'm losing a summoning point, but that safety of having it as a reliable summoning point seems to be worth it.
So Balzar picks up his first couple boosts, but does not actually get the kill there. So there is a carrier sitting in front, which can be dangerous depending. I guess we could see in the audience could see there's some key events that could make that more dangerous than it is.
And the carriers are getting a lot of boost. The Blight Mage there putting a boost and a damage to finish off the carrier, allowing it to transform into a fungal beast. If you don't know how the Fungal Dwarves work, these carriers, once they get 3 boost and are destroyed, they'll turn into a big fungal beast. And then the fungal beast, if they destroy something, they'll summon a carrier. So you kind of get this life and death cycle of growing these beasts.
Yeah, and we're seeing plenty of self-kills here.
Yep, popping yet another carrier with 3 boosts on it. We got 2 beasts out here. Beasts are able to make use of the boost that gets applied to them as well. At the end of their turn, they either take a damage or lose a boost, so they kind of decay over time.
Yeah, and let's maybe take a quick pause. Once we get to the end of this turn, we can start looking at the numbers. We're a few turns in. Maybe after this turn. What happened there? Balzar gaining more boost.
Yeah, but he's getting pushed back far. These fungal beasts are moving in fast. Fungal Dwarves look to be in a pretty good position. And Berserker trying its best to wild swing these beasts down, but it's not happening yet.
Yeah,
Balzar
okay.
definitely getting cramped.
So we've got both players have had what, 3 turns at this point or so, and yeah, let's look at the numbers. We're seeing a total hand, magic, and discard for Obsidian Dwarves is 25, and it is pretty similar.
Yeah, pretty tight on economy here.
23, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah, like you said, Nick, the big dynamic is the push forward by the Fungal Dwarves. Balzar is down to 7 life. Kaldak hasn't been touched, and I don't know. I mean, there's the advantage and disadvantage of being on the offensive. It takes more work to keep stuff up there, but that's why all these dark decks are often putting down their army right in front of them is sometimes the advantage of them, rather than having to walk all the way from back at your own gate.
That's right. They have a lot of horde momentum. But if you said Obsidian Dwarves have the advantage globally in this matchup, and I think a lot of that comes down to Balzar getting Volcanic Blast, the epic event, can spend up to 4 boost to deal that much damage to all cards within 2 spaces. So it can be a super powerful cleanup tool if the Mushroom Horde gets out of control. So Balzar sitting on 2 boost. We'll see if we can increase that number and get a Volcanic Blast to maybe turn the tides.
That is a big one, and especially that this Obsidian Dwarves player, Water D, can carefully choose the order in order to, avoid as many transformations as possible.
That's right. Very technical situations going on there. All right, Beast picking up another carrier spawn and reaching through to Balzar yet again. We've seen this attack before.
Let's see.
It is getting harder and harder to run away.
Oof, it is getting crowded. And that's the willpower is going to allow some rerolls plus some just free boost on Balzar. I've felt that that's a very strong event lately.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with willpower. It just helps you have a good turn.
But yeah, Water D is a little bit against the wall here, and that's what has been discovered.
Another rough roll for Balzar.
Yeah.
Only 1 hit and losing boost for rolling too many specials. That is not what we needed there. And on a willpower turn.
Yeah, so that must have been on a second attempt. I don't think we don't see the reroll in the replay. So
Orange Lazarus has the dice on his side yet again, summoning the carrier on a 3-for-3 hit and reaching Balzar. Only 1 damage this time, though. A slight reprieve. All right, Balzar's moving up. Got some boost. We could see a Volcanic Blast here.
Yeah, I mean, callback has done all of this unscathed, but yeah, that is going to clear out something. But I mean, it feels like he's. Well, let's see. He could bring in himself to. He could bring in somebody to protect, maybe. I don't know. I want to see this clear out first.
Yeah, doesn't look like there's any Ember Mages out.
No, there aren't. You're right.
So this is kind of just.
He's just saying, I got to do what I got to do. I got to have a lucky turn against me or something.
All right. The commons advance and are going for lethal.
Yeah, that's probably going to be it for game one.
That's one win for Orange Lazarus with the Fungal Dwarves.
All right. Wow. Okay. So Fungal Dwarves living up to their reputation among top players. It's funny, even just this year or whatever, or the last month or so, in general play, Fungal Dwarves are just sort of your ordinary 50% faction. But yeah, they are living up to, like I said, 7 out of 9 players in the final pool picked them.
Yep.
Makes me a little sad because I just love the Obsidian Dwarves.
I love them too. I think they're so fun to play. It was sad to see them get smacked around by all those carrier spawns there. That was tough to come back from.
I wonder what that really bad big roll at the end, what Waterdeep re-rolled, like if he could have lived. If he could have lived with the first roll or not.
Yeah, that was kind of the critical moment there. That attack really needed to go well, and it didn't.
So it's best 2 out of 3. Man, we don't know the results, so I mean, this game could decide it. If Orange Lazarus wins or if Waterdeep wins, then it'll go to a game 3. But the interesting thing is that the other 2 games, just by randomness, happened to be a game in reverse. So for this matchup, in general play, Savanna Elves slight advantage 52-48, although Tundra Orcs were the free deck for, along with Phoenix Elves for a long time. Mm-hmm. So those tended to be skewed negative. In this tournament, Savanna Elves have this weird starting setup that I don't know. I feel like I need, I will be open to suggestions on, whether any of the 3 starting setups we've tried, the one in the box or the 2 we've done in tournaments, makes a difference. But in this tournament, Savanna Elves are 56%, Tundra Orcs are just 42%, which seems like a little oddball for them. They've
low right now, yeah.
They've been consistently strong in tournaments. So unless there's something with a certain matchup becoming more prominent, that's probably random. Although in this tournament, they have not fared well in this matchup. 8-4, this matchup has gone to the Savanna Elves.
Okay, I wonder what the cause of that is. Tundra Orcs get the lead here, moving up Grognak to get the influence ready to go. We get a Brutal Force event.
Yep, and that's from Waterdeep as a reminder. Is on top. Oh, it's actually on the screen for the people watching on Twitch.
Oh, and a whiff on the dice means no Brutal Force here, so we miss out on the fighter getting a target of the attack as well. Powerful Chant of Growth for the Savanna Elves to start off, getting that trifecta there and protecting Delinus off to the side with a gate. A
lot of decks, but maybe these 2 most of all, you're really thinking about one particular card for the opponent. Chant of Power is just like, and you lose the game pretty instantly if you're facing the Savanna Elves. Because something with a double attack could have something really big. Tundra Orcs, a lot of times it's that Primal Fury. If Grognak is healthy and ready to be in the fray, he can get to attack them and roll 8 dice or get through something.
That's right, and Abua doesn't have a lot of life, so those Primal Fury attacks can be the nail in the coffin for sure.
Right, even a fighter. So it looks like Waterdeep did not summon a fighter in his first turn. I'm not sure what his feel with them is. They're extremely high variance. So.
Yeah.
1 Chant of Power already here, though.
It's on a big target, too. This Border Archer up to 4 boost already and has a prime target on the Smasher, hitting for 7.
So that means probably gets to kill this Shaman, too.
All right. Can 5 against 4 do it? It can. This is a really strong start for Savanna Elves.
It is, but it's 1 less card. That was good value. That was solid value out of it. Oh, for glory. This is a big one for the Tundra Orcs. It's their epic.
Love this event. Going for the daring clear of the Border Archer for the Shaman to attack through. Doesn't get through, though. Luckily, the Shaman rolls that special that is needed and hangs on with just a bit of life.
So we've seen a couple big events already. Even the Chant of Growth, really. I mean, it's not like a big, scary event, but it's a big value event.
Absolutely. Midi Kairu, a huge champion for Savanna Elves. This is a really strong one, being able to force 1 or 2 spaces after attacking. We saw Midi Kairu go up and clog the forward gate to help slow down the momentum of Tundra Orcs.
Ooh,
very strong
for glory, and it's against. We're gonna get some Abua shots here. Let's see what happens.
Oh wow, 9 dice on Abua here. That's 3 big ones from the Shaman, and lives to tell the tale. Charger swinging in for a big 4. You love to see those melee hits.
That changes the game quite a lot. Only having 3 life left.
Yeah, we were just talking about how the Primal Fury can let Grognak force his way into that final kill, and Abua is certainly at a life total where that would be the case should it happen.
Yeah, that's now something that they have to think about.
Savanna Elves have a lot of events that rely on summoner proximity as well. Chant of Power can only be used on something 3 spaces away. Chant of Entangling, you need 2 commons within 3 spaces of your summoner. So being on the back foot in terms of life can really slow down their momentum because of how much the deck relies on Abua being a centerpiece, even though he is vulnerable like that. So great turnaround from Tundra Orcs there, despite kind of the strong start of Lionesses and a champion pretty early in the game. So
got a freeze on Midi Kairu. Love to see that.
yeah, very nice. And we're chipping away at some gates. Grognak doing his best to combat this 7-life Lioness. Oh boy, you don't want to see that be a Chant of Power. Taking kind of a big risk there.
Yeah. Yep.
But we can see that Savanna Elves don't have the 2nd Chant of Power, so
right.
A gamble worth taking.
Yeah. Man, if he could get rid of Midi Kairu, man, being able to hit and then go back to clog the gate.
Yeah, really strong ability there. Definitely, I would say, a fan favorite champion. Everyone likes him. And another freeze on Midi Kairu. Here comes the Primal Fury. Grognak pushing through.
Love it.
Primal's one of my favorite deck building symbols. I think they have some of the coolest events. And
look at this.
Oh, here we go.
Just pushing through, opening up, clogging a gate, opening up his own gates. You know, you've got 1 turn here without Midi Kairu because that's your 2nd freeze. So I'm very interested to see where this goes.
Yep, a tragic whiff from the Shaman. As soon as they start getting out of proximity of Grognak, you really can't count on them too much. The real Jaxic just jumped into chat. Hey, how you doing? You did miss the first game, unfortunately. It was Orange Lazarus on Fungal Dwarves, defeated Water D's Obsidian Dwarves. It was a pretty nasty romp. Lots of carriers being summoned and attacking Balzar immediately. So just put a lot of forward momentum there. Despite a nice volcanic blast clearing things away, it was just not enough to stop the momentum. But we're on the 2nd game here. We got Orange Lazarus on Savanna Elves, Water D at the top with Tundra Orcs, and pretty exciting battle so far. Abua Down to 3 life already from a big
This could be
epic
it, though.
event turn. Ooh, a lot of attacks coming in on Grognak, and a huge miss from the Spirit Mage.
Wow, so there is hope.
Oh, how do you bounce back from this? Grognak, this is a temptation I always have when I play Tundra Orcs, is you just push Grognak forward. Here's another Primal Fury.
But there's not too much you can do with it.
Desperate escape.
Looks like it's over, unfortunately.
Oh, this is rough for Grognak.
Oh, boy.
Yep, that looks like one defeated Tundra Orc to me. Absolutely surrounded.
Man, Midi Kairu really proving as the MVP. I mean, soaked up 2 freezes. Congrats to Orange Lazarus. I don't know. Presumably, we asked Nikki to put the games in the most interesting possible order. Hopefully that happened.
Popped into the chat. Has some commentary. I actually like fighters. I wish they could move 2 spaces on a force, but other than that, they are fine. If you notice, if fighter rolled well, I would have won the game in that spot. Sadly, fighter was in a bad day, and that is just how Tundra Orcs go sometimes. They have so many effects reliant on rolling the specials at the right time, and just kind of the nature of those primal risk-taking decks. They can have those high highs and those really low lows, and
Obsidian Dwarves and Tundra Orcs both really lean into that, and that was a major factor.
Yeah, we saw some rough special rolls from Balzar there at really inopportune times, so the dice will get you sometimes, but well played, Water D. We're loving the games.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I don't think we'll watch the third one, because I think based on Nikki would have ordered them based on it was probably a sweep. But maybe Colby will take a look and confirm. I've never heard him up there. Colby's at the control room, and I don't know if he's in the room. He might have had to step out for a second.
So that is a win for Orange Lazarus. Congrats yet
He's
again.
now won in life and digitally in the tournaments. Both these guys super high ranking in the Summoner War Zone leagues as well. Orange Lazarus in the top tier this past season, and Water D was playing in the second tier. So
yeah, just 2 very commanding players. It's great to see them play. Water D sending a GG to Orange Lazarus. Thanks for being a good sport. I thought your games were interesting. You played very well.
Yeah, I mean, Water D is a great player. Maybe one of the best, like we said beforehand, at just, talking about the game, thinking about the game philosophically. Like we said, it's interesting, the gap between regular players and top players as far as how good the Fungal Dwarves get is getting very large. So we're definitely eyeing them, and we're being a little bit slower and more meticulous with whatever the next card updates will be. But yeah, we're eyeing them for an update because we're seeing how impossible it can feel once you reach a certain point in the game. So
yeah, that momentum is really powerful and relies on very key moments going your way, getting that last boost to turn it into a fungal beast and keep it going. Well, do we have time to watch the third game?
Yeah, we could take a quick look at, or he says the second turn is funny, so that's what
we're all here. We're here to watch some Summoner Wars. Let's pop another game up here.
We can do a casual look at it.
And we still don't know who would take this one. It won't affect the tournament outcome, but we don't know the game outcome yet.
I'm guessing it means that Orange Lazarus won it, because otherwise Nikki would have ordered them differently, but I don't know that for a fact.
We don't know. All right, here we go. Savanna Elves on the start again. With the printed starting setup, going first is a really big deal for the Savanna Elves, where that Lioness can get an attack and gain some life through the momentum ability. So interesting to see the new starting setup kind of dissuade that from being such a factor for their strength. I know Savanna Elves have one of the highest differences between going first and going second, so that was an attempt to examine that data.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure with the experiments we've done, like the further away you put that Lioness. Oh, okay, here's the first turn. Let's go ahead and see what he was.
All right, I like that blood rush, getting a lot of forward space.
So Charger kills stuff and dies. Is that what we're gonna see? Are we gonna see it? Are we gonna see like a board clear here? It looks like it.
Nice job, Chargers, clearing themselves out of the way. Very, very handy. Yo!
Oh man!
All right, more glory indeed. That's what Tundra Orcs are all about right there. I love that.
Yeah, with the Savanna Elves, the more out of the way you put the Lioness, the less of an impact it can have if they go first, but also the more sure it is that it's going to accumulate 5 boost and be an 8 life 2 cost common. So I don't know. Maybe it does. I bet it probably does do the job in flattening out the first player advantage, but I don't know if it really has an effect on their overall strength, you know?
Yeah. All right, the fighters bopping some things around. We got a frenzy in there. Missed the second frenzy. Not a huge deal right now.
Yes, Waterdeep says yes, he does play poker for a living. So, I mean, I remember that back in the day, him mentioning that, and you know, him doing some comparisons to Summoner Wars and poker that are
cool,
that are interesting. I've been playing a lot of these games that you introduced me to, Nick, like Super Auto Pets and Slay the Spire, where you really get to play hundreds of iterations of a game and you see that truth about Summoner Wars and poker of how luck fades into the background over time, over enough games.
Yeah.
And you can increase your skill level, which is the kind of thing I remember Waterdeep saying back in the day.
Whoa, is that the game? Smasher blasting it with 6 attack,
wow,
got the last 5 it needed. Huge explosion from the Tundra Orcs. Wow.
Yeah, so it's funny when you see at a physical game, the pool of players, like at a physical tournament at Gen Con, the pool of players is so much smaller that you just don't really know. Like you say, hey, congratulations and well done, and but you don't know if you're seeing optimum play, you know.
Sure.
But Orange Lazarus now, wow, yeah, really showing how it's done in a couple of these. Really showcasing. I know that early when we first released the Tundra Orcs and they were being played by a lot of new people and their win rate was low, I know a lot of competitive players were saying, hey, I never feel weak when I'm playing them. And that's
it's
really
that Grognak temptation.
Yes.
And then you just can't back out if things go south.
I've always thought that's a big difference between a top player and a mid-tier player is in Summoner Wars is discipline.
yeah.
But I think in a couple spots today, Waterdeep saw the writing on the wall and he said, I'm just going to go in and tear something up before I die.
Absolutely. I respect it. Yeah, that it's discipline and also just faction awareness of what your opponent is playing. What can they do? Can they reach my summoner? Do they have some kind of combo to break through my defense? And should I risk it? It's one of the things sand goblins are especially good at exploiting. They have just so many ways to launch a barrage of damage towards you wherever you are. You try and block it this way and they go around this way. You try and block it that way. They fly over this way. It's just a relentless assault and very difficult to play around.
Yeah, and the other thing with these top players, I think that they all just have an intuition about placement that is placement of units and gates that is harder to explain. It's not necessarily an explicit reason that, well, this unit could go here and do this. It's just more about a long-term solid choices.
Are you familiar with the term the donkey stack, Joe?
No, I don't know what that is. I know who Donkey is.
Yeah, a well-known top player of
Yeah.
Summoner Wars, but has a strategy named after them. And basically what the donkey stack is lining up your units vertically so that when one is defeated, like the one behind it isn't exposed. So it's like a strong way to conserve your unit's positioning over time.
Interesting.
And as I watch like top level games here and there, it's just like, oh, there's the donkey stack. There's the donkey. It has caught on as a really strong way to just organically position your units when you're like choosing between, should I do my turn this way or do it this way? Well, if I stack them up, there's some like inherent defensive and retaliation based benefits that come from it.
It's also that's another key of top players in any game is they do a good job of learning from others.
Yeah, I absolutely see that.
To me, when I see a good play, I'm like, well, I'm going to do it a different way. I'm going to do it my way. But yeah, that's really interesting. I know there was a game earlier in a tournament. I was showing Colby something I was working on in code, and I happened to open up a random tournament game, and the left column was completely full with 8 units from the 2 players, and we were like, "Oh, what is there a bug or something here? What's going on?" I can't remember what game it was, so I think it was a later round game. So I'm sure it was 2 good players, but that's interesting. I wonder if that could help explain what that particular circumstance was. Where I was like,
yeah, that might have been like the most magnified situation of it. 8 units in a line.
Yeah, congrats again to Orange Lazarus. I try hard not to read into communication I have when I'm running the tournaments. Like Water D emailed me and was like, the games are all done, with like maybe 2 exclamation points. I was like, I wonder if Water D won this. He's really excited to say that. So no, he was just being a good sport and volunteering to let me know. So
absolutely, a great batch of games. Thanks so much for participating in the tournament and making it this far and sharing your games and your knowledge.
Yeah, I want to reiterate what I said before we started, which is that it's going to be a few days at least before I open up the next tournament, because I am working on finishing the next major update of the app with avatars and badges and ranked play. And along with ranked play comes better, more sophisticated matchups for asynchronous games that try to pair you with people close to your ELO and different things like that. So I think it's going to serve the community best to get that done and get that up. So I'm going to sort of delay. There's going to be a little lull, but we will make sure. I know that people wanted to see a little bit more communication on the new tournament. So we'll make sure once we get that update up, then I'll probably wait a couple days because there's bound to be a bunch of fixes that need done. And then we will make sure to let people know loud and clear about the next tournament opens up. Yeah, it's Jack6 says, wow, that update sounds big. It is. Yeah. It's been a lot of work, and it's got some visual upgrades as well, because if you've got an avatar, and each deck comes with a set of that you own or have access to. I mean, if you're subscribed, you have everything. It has a set of avatars you can use, plus your username, plus your level and stars on that level, which once you reach the top diamond, you're just there. Once you reach that top diamond, you can choose which badges you own that you want to display in, and so all that's visible just on the screen. Cool. In a battle against somebody. So we were doing some work to improve that and fit that in and have it look good. So that'll give some more personality for everybody. If you're curious, of course, when we do that, we'll be starting at 0 with a fresh season.
All right, good time for me to jump back in.
Yeah, so everybody will start with an even. But while I've been coding it, of course, I go back historically and run the numbers so that I have an example data of what it'll look like. And it was not shocking at all when I ran back, no matter what window of time I ran back to, SIP was at the top of the ELO rankings.
Of course.
Pretty funny. Also a recent, not the most recent, but a recent Summon War Zone League champion and two-time tournament champion. So pretty funny against all of those metrics. But
I love seeing the consistency of top players. I think it really speaks to the integrity of the game.
Yeah, hopefully what this update does, besides giving players a little bit more personality to express in those small ways with avatars and badges, and you'll be able to click on anybody that you're playing against and see their profile and things like that.
Cool.
There is besides all that, I think the hope is that people like me and you who are will be very motivated to like, oh, I can win and see my stars go up. And I had a lot of good feedback on a blog post a while ago for good suggestions. So of how to calibrate that. So you will, as you beat people who are ahead of you, you will gain stars faster, but you do lose a star if you lose a game. Mm-hmm. So you have to, the risk is lower if you're playing somebody better than you, but we'll see. I'm hoping that'll motivate a lot of us to go in and like, oh, there's something I can really achieve. Any rewards for being at the top? Probably badges.
Cool.
I'll historically go back and give out badges for being in a finals pool for all our past tournaments and for being a winner or a runner up in a past tournament. So people will have that right away. And Excellent. Other than that, the badges are going to start out real simple. They're going to be about, getting X number of wins, being the top. There will be like a list updated daily of the top players for each faction, which is just kind of fun. I mean, I know that's how I've gotten involved sometimes with other games of like, well, I'll never be in this top 20 list, but maybe I could be the best, I could be the best Meta Knight player I could be. Or whatever.
Yeah. What faction would you want to be the master of, Joe?
I tell you what, when I was playing, we were play testing in person. Me and Colby have physical cards, like alpha testing last week. And Obsidian Dwarves might be my new favorite over Fallen Kingdom.
All right.
Fallen Kingdom have been my favorite for a long time. And man, I just love the risk and let's see. I love our philosophy in that in Grognek's deck of having some better mitigation than other decks, but at the end of the day, it's just a little bit of mitigation. You still are.
Yep.
How about you? Where do you think you would try to push towards the top?
Ooh, it would have to be Sand Goblins. They've been my number one favorite since their release, and even since first edition. I've always loved the Sand Goblins, but I'm just so happy with where that deck came out. I think it captures the explosive fun of goblins, but also this like technical weird economy of milling your deck, but putting stuff back, recurring this upgrade, blowing things up, putting it back to your hand. It's just like it's playing jazz. You never know how your improvisation's gonna go, and they just deliver satisfying games for me all the time.
Yeah.
And then my number 2 would be Wayfarers. I had a ton of fun developing them and always enjoy playing them and facing them. So I would certainly put some effort towards them as well.
I'll answer this last question, then we'll get going. But cool. Water D asked about Steam release, and so we are doing this big ranking update, and then the other big feature before we do a Steam release will need to be arena play, live play, essentially.
Like the hot seat.
You have a timer, like per phase, and if you don't do it, it would move up. So I don't know. Water D says thanks for the support. I don't know. Compared to other big games, I don't know if you're doing too much or they're doing too little. I'll tell you what, often the happiest moment I know for me and Colby of our week is just talking about Summoner Wars, getting on, and which we need to do, which I think is our plan right after this meeting, is to get on and argue about changes to the playtest cards. When we realized that we have to we were going to need to do this on Google Meet this time. I had suggested to Nikki, like, oh, we could switch one of us out and have Nick join us then. And I said, but don't switch me out, because this is my favorite thing I do in my job.
Yeah.
And then I think, but actually Nick's not too far away, so we could come down and have a 3-person commentary team, old Monday Night Football style, perhaps.
Yeah,
in a future tournament.
I was thinking about coming down in April, but we'll see.
Yeah,
the alpha testing was a lot of fun. We all got together and played the next 3 decks we were working on.
Yep, and I'm sure that we'll have a new Ashes podcast episode and a new Summer Wars podcast episode soon, because those have both been a while.
It's about time to do another pair of those, I would say.
Yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks a ton again to Waterdy and Orange Lazarus, and congrats to both you guys. And we will see you next time. Be on the lookout for a big update, and then following that, a new tournament opening.
Excellent. All right. Take care, everyone.